Hey card making friends, welcome back. It's Sandy here, and today I am playing with some new products from Waffle Flowers. In particular, their new grid mats that they are re-releasing, and we've also got a sweet strawberry foiling plate, some colored stencils, a stamp set, and coordinating dies, which I didn't get, but they do have available. So we're going to play with those as well as we check out the new mats. They have a variety of new sizes of mats, and you will know if you've watched any of my previous videos that I use these a lot. So today I am playing and going to compare these two. 5.5 by 8.5, 6.5 by 8.5 is the new size. As you can tell, my existing one is well loved. And you get a couple of the grids that go sticky on the back of the new grip mats, and I did this in kind of regular time just to show you how sticky these are. Trying to get that cover plate off of there, holy macro. These are good and sticky. They're made out of photopolymer, which, you know, by nature is pretty sticky, and these guys definitely are. And they have a chiseled edge. They've got a new grid mat, which is actually smaller than the actual grip mat, which is nice because when you stick it on the back of your grip mat, then there's still an edge all the way around that will stick to your glass mats while you're working on your new projects. So I'm just adding the grid to the back, and I'm sticking it down to my glass mat and making sure that it does in fact stick, and it does. It works really well. I have my grid on there a little bit crooked, so I'm going to straighten it out and stick it back down to my glass mat, and we're going to make a card. I'll show you how it works. Okay, so I used the sweet strawberry, the foiling plate and gold foil, and I did a couple of these on 4 1/4 by 5.5 hammer mill, and using a good quality cardstock will really help you with this. It sticks to the mat better, and it also peels from the mat better. Okay, and there, like I said, there is a coordinating stencil. This is called a coloring stencil, also sweet strawberry. I'm just lining it up, and you'll see that there's lots of room outside of my actual paper to stick the stencil to the mat. And now I'm showing you that I'm using my old mat to hold my ink pads in place. Okay, so today's ink pads, Simon Says Stamps Positively Saturated, and for the red for the berries, I'm using Punch, Cherry, and Cabernet, and for the leaves, I'm using Limelicious, Perfection, and Field. And I'm starting off with a wider brush and just laying down the first color of the strawberry, and I saturate the entire part. Then I'm coming back with a smaller nib on the end of my brush, and I'm coming back in with the middle color, which is cherry, and I'm going to add some shadowing down the left hand side. And this is a nice way to get some detail into your stenciling so that it doesn't look so flat. By adding 3 colors and putting some shadows in there, basically the same as you would if you were coloring with your Copic markers, but instead you're using ink pads and skinny little blending brushes. Finally, for the darkest of the shadows, the Cabernet, and again, I'm just lightly adding it to the top left-hand corner just to get a real dark detail in there. And look at those, aren't they pretty? It just adds so much depth. So we're going to do the same thing with the leaves. I'm just going to clean off my stencil with my cloth, and then I'm lining up my second stencil, which is down in the left-hand corner, and it's the one that has the little center for the flower at the top. Again, here's the 3 colors that we're using, starting with the lightest, which is Limelicious, and the larger of the blending brushes. I'm going to cover the entire surface with this. This is going to be my base color. So the same as when, again, you're using your Copics, you're putting your base color down first, and that kind of preps the paper for everything else and helps it blend together. And we're going to add blending and some more coloring detail with the smaller blending brushes. Okay, so we got that first layer down. I'm going to come in with Perfection, which is the middle color, and I'm not moving my stencil. Okay, but starting at the center of those leaves, I'm going to add in the darker green. And I start in the center and pull it out. And it's automatically going to give us some depth. And for the bigger leaves, we're going to start again closest to the stem and then pull our way out. And what I'm telling you there is don't press too hard with your blending brush. Otherwise, you're going to get the ink underneath the stencil and you're going to end up with some blobs. Most of the time, the die will cut them out, but there's really no way of getting rid of them if that happens. Okay, so I've got that done. Again, I'm cleaning my stencil, and then I'm going to move on to the third panel, which is in the top right-hand corner. And I have turned my stencil around just in case you think I'm crazy. Getting it lined up and laying it down. And this mat is very sticky. It's holding that stencil in place, absolutely no problem. Okay, so I'm coming in with the third color. I'm starting this one with the middle color, which is Perfection. And I'm laying down my ink across the entire piece. This time I'm using the small blending brushes because the spots are quite small. Okay, we're just about done. You just want to put a fine layer down. And then we're going to highlight these part of the leaves as well by using the darkest of the three colors, which is Field, and again the small blending brush. And again, starting in the center and working out, we're going to add the depth. And this will cause the deepest of the shadows. And you notice I don't have to hold on to my stencil at all. The grip mat's doing a great job of holding on to it. I'm just holding on to the left-hand corner because it's not stuck on the mat at all, and I don't want it to pop up on me. Okay, so just finishing up adding my details into the centers of each of those pieces. And I'm going to again clean my stencil off, and we're going to peel this off for the reveal. See how sticky it is? You got to be careful not to tear your stencil. Okay, so the secret of removing the paper is you want to bend the paper and the mat at the same time so that nothing gets torn. There, just like that. Nice and easy to get off. And there we go. Look at that beautiful gold bling with those pretty stenciled colors and the depth. Love it. And it's super easy to do. Okay, so a little bit more about this grip mat. This one fits beautifully inside the Misty, and they do recommend that you leave the grid on the back of it so that you just have the outline sticking down on the bottom of the Misty. And it helps to protect it and keep it clean. You also don't want to use any glues or any glitters or anything that kind of gets embedded into the grip mats, and then they end up not working too well. If it gets unsticky, just wash it gently with some soap and water and dry it off, and it will be nice and sticky again. So how do I store mine? I leave the grid mat on the back. I put the cover sheet over top of the front, and I pop mine right back into the cello bags that they came in. And then I stack them on their sides with all of my Misties. Usually I leave one of them inside my Misty on a regular basis. Okay, so let's finish the card. I have another piece of hammer mill 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm just going to do a little bit of ink blending with the Limelicious, which is the lightest of the greens. And I'm only going to do the two opposite corners. Okay, so using my towel because my ink is wet. Coming in on the other side and adding some detail. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Spellbinders nested postage labels. I'm sure Waffle Flowers has some too, but I don't own them. I actually have very little Waffle Flower stuff. I hope to change that soon. I really like their products. And I am going to die cut this piece with that second of the largest postage labels and add a whole bunch of foam tape to the back of it and add it to my card front. I'm also using some sentiment dies from Waffle Flowers, and I gold embossed them in the top left and the bottom right corner of my card front, and I'm just removing the protective covers from the foam tape so that I can attach this to the card. And then over that, I fussy cut out my two little art pieces because I didn't get the dies. I would highly recommend getting the dies. These were a little bit detailed to cut out, fussy cut. But hey, I got it done. Adding some foam squares to the back of these little guys, and for the little spaces, I cut the foam squares in half, just so that everything stays popped up. Added dimension to my card. Okay, so then you just want to remove the protective covers again, and you're going to attach your art pieces to your card front. And then I added a little bit of bling with the candy dots that they sent me. Neither one of the reds were really in line with the reds I used on the strawberries, so I used the green. And again, there's 4 sentiments with this stamp set that you could use for the inside of the card. Okay, that's it for me today. I love the mat. I think you know that already. Everything I used today is linked underneath this video. There's also a link over to my blog where you will find all of the products that I used. And until next time, happy stamping, and here's a couple more videos I thought you might like.